Hi, g'day. Let's start with the stat weightings. These are just numerical values representing how much I rate having the stat on a piece of gear. For tanking rogues, the answer is I want a lot of stamina and a lot of agility. Don't really care much about the other stats. Now I want a lot of stam, not just for the obvious reason of tanks always want stam, but especially for rogue tanks, since you have such high avoidance but low armor that when you do get hit, you get absolutely slapped. So what you want to do is you want to have enough stamina that when you do get hit, the damage isn't too spiky and healers can keep up. Agility should be obvious. It gives a huge amount of dodge as well as damage and crit, so it's excellent for both threat and for mitigation. So with that in mind, our best in slot helm is the Humbert's Helm, a 4% drop chance off the Dungorok Rifleman in Hillsbrad Foothills. Now you have to be Horde to farm this one. If you're Alliance, look for it on the neutral auction house. For alternatives, the Lucky Fishing Hat is very good. Really, it's basically just as good as Humbert's, only it's much harder to get. You have to get lucky and catch a rare fish during the Stranglethorn fishing tournament on a Sunday. Ringed Helm here is not amazing, but it will serve as a respectable alternative, and you can get that as a drop from the rare spawn Garneg Charskull, who lives in wetlands. For the Amulet slot, if you've watched a few of my best lists already, you're probably getting sick of hearing about the Spectral Necklace, but it is again the best in slot neck. We're looking for one off the monkey that is with agility and stam on it. For alternatives, you could go for the Warsong Gulch Reputation neck if you're up for some PvP. Requires honoured reputation, but the new Ashenvale World PvP will award the rep, or you could go for a High Tide Choker from the new Black Fathom Deeps raid. As for shoulders, the best option is the Mantle of Thieves from Razorfen Cruel Trash, if you can get it. It might be a bit hard to get though, because even though it's BOE, I expect not many people will be able to clear the level 30 mobs in RFK. There is an option that's very close though. Robust Shoulders of the Monkey with 6 stam and 6 agi is only just worse than the Mantle of Thieves, and it should be a lot easier to find since it's a world drop. If you're really desperate, you could just go for a leather working option instead, either the Earthen Leather Shoulders with 7 stamina, or the Dark Leather Shoulders with 7 agility. These are both much worse than the previous options though. As for quest rewards, neither are particularly good, but Alliance can get the Luminescent Amos from the Fallen Sky Lake quest in Ashenvale, and Horde can get the Voodoo Mantle from Jinzil's Forest Magic in Stone Talon Mountains. Moving on to cloaks. The best is the Sentry Cloak, a mainstay of the 19 PvP bracket, and it's still good here. We can alternatively use Cape of the Brotherhood from Van Cleef and the Deadmines, which is only just barely worse, assuming of course that we value stam slightly over agility. You can also use one with 4 agility and 4 stam, just as a BOE green cloak, and that's a solid option. As for quest rewards, there are some quest rewards that are really solid, but the quest is somewhat difficult, or there's some much weaker cloaks from easier quests. Alliance can get the Watchmaster's Cloak from the level 32 elite quest Moorbent Fell, and Horde can get Grimsteel Cape from the Vol's Revenge quest, which starts in Scarlet Monastery. For the easier quest rewards, Horde can get a Spritekin Cloak from the quest Blood Fury Bloodline in Stone Talon Mountains, and both factions can get an Engineer's Cloak from the quest Gorenzo Wrench Whistle, which is also in Stone Talon Mountains. Now the new Black Fathom Deeps raid brings us our best chest, the Clamweave Tunic. Even though it's cloth, it has bonus armor, agility and a lot of stam, and it also has a really amazing reference to clam weaving, which I can confirm was a real thing, where Death Knights could reset their global cooldown by opening clams in combat. It was patched shortly after Discovery though, of course. Now, until you embrace the way of the clam, you can get some nice alternatives that are almost as good. The Blackened Defias armor drops off Van Cleef and the Deadmines, and Alliance players can also get the Tunic of Westfall from the Defias Brotherhood quest, which also takes place in the Deadmines. For some quest rewards, Alliance can get a Bone-Studded Leather from Missing in Action in Redridge Mountains, though really I'd just do a Deadmines run while leveling. The quest is kinda lame and so is this armor. Horde gets some okay options though. Either the Brawnhide armour from Wanted Arnak Grim Totem in Thousand Needles, or Orgard Tunic from King of the Foul World in Ashenvale, both good options. The wrist slot, however, is some slim pickings. The best we have is to just look for a BOE green with agility and stam on it. There's also really nothing good from quest rewards either, but there are a bunch of easily obtainable alternatives at least. In Duskwood, you can target farm the glowing leather braces from Skeletal Warders or the Mad Wolf braces from Nightbane Vilefangs. Both factions can do this, but of course it's going to be much easier for Alliance, especially on PvP servers. There are also two good vendor lists. Wolf braces and bear braces can both be purchased from vendors around the world. Now weapons. For weapons we mostly want high damage, but also if possible we want a slow main hand with a fast offhand. It's not really too important to get this though. Now with that in mind, there's lots of weapons to talk about, both because a lot of weapons are decent, and also because Horde and Alliance get access to different options. Also for this part, make sure you don't just look at the best in slot, because there are some data mined PvP rewards that may or may not be in the game, but if they are, they're probably going to be this. Horde, by far, get the far better deal out of this, with the absolute best thing in the world being the Windstorm Hammer. This comes from the very long and difficult Test of Faith quest chain that's going to require, among other things, a Scarlet Monastery run at 25 somehow. But if you can get it, it's by far the best main hand. Even though it's rather fast, it just does so much DPS, which really makes up for it. Horde also exclusively get Outlaw Saber, which comes from the Baron Aquinas quest that starts in BFD. From the streams at BlizzCon, it does seem to be confirmed that it's still in the game and it's still Horde exclusive. Then for the offhand, we mostly want stats, so our best in slot is the Prison Shank, which comes from the rare spawn Brugal Iron Knuckle in the Stockades. So yeah, have fun sneaking through Stormwinter's Horde. Alliance might have a bit of an easier time getting their Prison Shank, because they'll want one also, but their main hand is much worse than the Horde options. Their best option is the Bezel's Basher, a world drop BOE. We mostly just want it for the high DPS and slow weapon speed. The stats are rather useless on it. Now for alternatives. The first alternatives to mention, which are definitely worse but still okay, are the level 18 PvP rewards from getting revered with a Warsong Gulch reputation. One advantage here is that you can get a nice main hand and offhand from the same source. Now while these might be a bit worse, if we stay on PvP for a second, now this is not confirmed yet, but these are level 25 versions of those same weapons, which if these are in the game, these are likely going to be our best in slot, excepting perhaps Windstorm Hammer for Horde is probably still better. In any case, if these are the items that we get, doing a lot of the new Ashenvale PvP to get revered will be a top priority. Until you get the good items though, there's some quest rewards. They are bad, but you can get them pretty easily, and you have to wear something when you first hit level 25 I guess. For the Alliance, you have your main hand as either the Phyto Blade from Blisters Off the Land in Wetlands, but only if you have at least 100 herbalism skill, or you can get the Hardwood Cudgel from Mathistra Relics in Darkshore. For the offhand, we'll want a Relic Blade from the Absent Minded Prospector quest chain, which begins in Darkshore and finishes up in Wetlands. As for Horde, they have two weapons that can be either main hand or offhand, and these are the Slate Metal Cutlass from Torex Assault in Ashenvale, and the Claystone Short Sword from Arachnophobia in Stone Talon Mountains. Now, after that long section on weapons, the range slot is nice and easy. Get a ranger bow for the 1 agility, and nothing else really matters. So, gloves. Here we have a really nice new epic. The Void Touched leather gloves have good stats, has hit chance, which is really hard to come by, and the on use can give us some nice extra threat on the opening. You'll need to be leatherworking for this, so be leatherworking for this. For alternatives, the next best is Wolf Claw gloves from Razorfen Cruel Trash, or a BOE green with agility and stam. Either is about as good as the other. Slightly worse is the toughened leather gloves from Leatherworking, but you will need one of those to make the epic anyway, so efficiency and stuff. For quest rewards, Alliance can get Hammer Fist gloves from the Absent-Minded Prospector and Darkshore, a little bit earlier in the chain than the weapon I mentioned previously. Horde can get Gloves of the Moon from Cry of the Thunderhawk and the Barons, but both of these are pretty mediocre. I'd say a better option is to try and get a Barbaric Gloves from Leatherworking, which theoretically, hopefully, should be cheap, and it's just as good as the toughened leather gloves. Moving on then to the waist slot. The best we have is just a BOE green with agility and stam on it. It's also barely better than the alternatives, so I guess let's look at them. Alliance can get a Windborne belt with only one less agility than the BOE. They get that from the quest High Perch Venom, which begins in Theramore and is completed in Thousand Needles. Horde can get a Deftkin belt from Jano of the Earthen Ring in Ashenvale, and both can get a Deviate Scale belt from Leatherworking, and all of these are very fine options. For the pants slot, Trip Runner dungarees are incredible if you can get them. They come from Gnomeregan from the quest Rig Wars or the Grand Betrayal, which involve killing the final boss. This is probably too difficult at level 25, and also it's not actually even certain whether Noma is going to be unlocked in the season at level 25 in the first place. If it is unlocked, but it was too difficult, you can look at Petrol Spill leggings. They also come from Gnomeregan, but as a random BOE drop from the trash, which is lower level than the final boss and might be more doable. And there's also the Troll's Mane leggings. This is a world drop BOE, and this will be best if Gnomeregan is not available. For some alternatives, Leggings of the Fang from Lord Cobran and Wailing Caverns is good, as is a BOE green if you can get 7 agility and 7 stam on it. You can also buy Stalking Pants from vendors, and that's decent too. For quest rewards, there's really only one decent one, which is the Slick Deviate Leggings from the Deviate Hides quest in Wailing Caverns. Even the vendor pants are better though, so probably just go for those. Let's look at boots now. Horde have the advantage here with Warsong boots from the quest Warsong Supplies being absolutely bis, and also really easy to get, whereas Alliance will have to settle for the world drop BOE Harbinger boots. For some alternatives, you could get the Nat Pagel's Extreme Angling boots from the fishing tournament on Sundays, but that sounds like effort. I'd rather just look for 6 agility, 6 stam BOE green on the auction house. And as for a couple of quest rewards, now this is only really relevant for Alliance since really Horde should just get those Warsong boots, but Alliance can get Lancer boots from Mortality Wayne's quest in Rezafen Crawl. Those will do if you can't find a BOE green, only slightly worse. Or for a really easy option, you can use the Marina boots from the quest Return the Statuette, which is in Wetlands. Now, rings. We'll need 2 BIS rings, and the first will be either Seal of Rin for the Alliance, which is from the quest beginning with Van Cleef's head in the Dead Mines, or for the Horde, Seal of Sylvanas from the quest Aragorn Must Die in Shadowfang Keep. Then, both should look for the Razorfen Cruel Trash Drop Plains Ring. We don't want the int, of course, but lots of stam is nice. If that's too hard to find, just grab a BOE green. Ideally with agility and stam on it, but just pure stam is fine too. There's also some quest rewards to look at. Alliance can get either the Ironforge Memorial Ring from the quest A King's Tribute, which begins from the note in the hand of a dead dwarf in the water between Wetlands and Rathi. Or they can get Ring of Iron Will from the Yowler quest in Redridge. As for Horde, they have 3 options. Inventors League Ring from Hypercapacitor Gizmo in Thousand Needles, Ring of Scorn from A Husband's Revenge in Silverpine, or Bounty Hunter's Ring from the Hezrol Bloodmark quest in the Barrens. Finally, trinkets. Our best options are the Arena Grandmaster Trinket from the Stranglethorn PvP Arena, and Rune of Duty from the Warsong Gulch Reputation. I hope you like PvP. The only other option is the Avengers Void Pearl from the new BFD raid, but that's not really all that great for us.